Welcome to Obsessed with Success, starring Russel Morgan.
Hello, and welcome back to Obsessed with Success with Russel Morgan. Russel is the founder and CEO of Morgan Legal Group, one of New York's premier estate planning firms. He's also a legal entrepreneur, a strategist, and a mentor, helping attorneys scale with clarity and confidence. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about something that holds a lot of talented lawyers back. Not skill, not knowledge, but confidence. Why do so many smart attorneys stay stuck? And what does it take to grow with certainty? Russel, good to see you. Welcome back.
Kevin, great to see you as always.
Why is it difficult often for lawyers to feel confident when their business starts growing?
I think this is something, in my opinion, that's shared across industries in general. People have a hard time stepping into their own success, what some may call imposter syndrome. That when you start seeing the fruits of your labor and all of the hard work that you've put in actually materialize, some people are still stuck in survival mode. You're past that threshold, but you have a hard time understanding that you're now in the place at least better off than where you started. So a lot of it starts with confidence in yourself and understanding and really celebrating all of your little victories that led up to the moment that your business started to grow. Any type of growth is generally good growth. And whether you're leaps and bounds ahead of where you started, or you're just making collaborative efforts day in and day out and seeing the results materialize slowly, you need to celebrate your victories. You're building your business brick by brick. And like any business owner, you need to be proud of your accomplishments. You need to be proud of what you did. So it's difficult for someone to step away and see themselves from a third person and understand that you are growing and what you're doing is working and you are successful as a business person. And you have to get comfortable with that on a personal level above and beyond anything else.
I've heard over the years terms like people are afraid of success, things like that. It's probably oversimplifying the whole idea. But when somebody is really like, I don't know, like when they're like, oh my God, this thing is actually starting to work. What am I going to do now? Like how do they end up in that spot?
It's a mental bind that you're putting yourself in, that you've put all this pressure on this project and all of a sudden it's actually working.
Mhm.
And it's this oh my God moment where you're afraid of the outcome. You're in a place where you're not really necessarily only afraid, but you're not sure how you got there, and you don't necessarily believe that it's working. So
Mhm.
it's a mental block that you impose, maybe as a safety mechanism, maybe to protect yourself emotionally from realizing the fact that you are successful, you are growing, and you're reaching your goal, or you're getting closer to your goal. And a lot of this stems from fear, that some people just are afraid that no matter how much effort I put in and no matter how much work I do, that it's always going to be survival. A lot of this is mental. You have to envision the success. You have to see yourself there already. I don't want to bore our listeners with astral projection and the law of attraction and all of the other stuff that goes into believing in your success, but you have to believe in yourself. You have to understand that the only reason why other people believe in you is because you believed in yourself
Mhm.
and you took that leap and you invested in yourself and you took the time and you took the money and the sweat and the blood. Everything you put into it is now materializing. And you being afraid of what now has become some growth, and let's just say some level of success, you're just stifling your own growth. You're attracting that negative energy to yourself. You're attracting that negativity to stifle rather than focus on more growth and more expansion. And to me, as always, stagnation is death. So if you're not growing, you're dying. So you operating out of fear than from a place of confidence is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it sounds so easy, just believe in yourself and believe that this is already done and believe that your tasks are completed. But it's hard. We're conditioned to think things are going to fail. We're conditioned to believe that things are just worst case scenario all the time. Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. Yes, that's true. But if you're operating effectively and efficiently and you're growing, clearly you're doing something right. So why don't we focus on the positive? Let's focus on the fact that you're growing. Let's take attention away from the fear and focus on your momentum, and that you can collateralize this growth into more growth, or don't, and just celebrate your victory.
You brought up a good point too, is protecting yourself. It's sort of like hedging your bet. It's like when a sports fan is like, we're going to lose. It's like, well, if you lose, then you're like, I knew we were going to lose. And if you win, you're pleasantly surprised. So either way, you're kind of protecting yourself from the heartache in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like you're asking for failure. Who
I agree.
starts something asking to lose? Nobody
Mhm.
goes into marriage looking to get divorced. Nobody starts a business looking for bankruptcy. So if we follow that same logic, if you're growing, you should be celebrating. We shouldn't be afraid of the growth. We should be celebrating the growth, because you're attracting more growth by bringing that positive energy into your business, to yourself, most importantly, and the people around you. Any business is an idea plus action. And if your team believes in you, it's because they believe in your idea and action.
Mhm.
The last thing we want is for them to doubt you, or to cause some issue in your culture and your workforce because they're not certain in their leadership. If you're not sure in yourself, why should I believe in your concept? Why should I work for your company? Let's focus on that first and make sure you're comfortable in your own skin, not only for your sake, but for the growth of your business and your employees.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment in your journey where you felt that negative energy and had to like kind of bring yourself back?
I think everybody goes through it. Any business owner you speak to will at some point in their career, whether it's something monumental or just an incremental bit of growth, you're always going to doubt yourself. Any inventor, or I shouldn't say any, but most inventors, they trial and error 1,000 times over. When they finally succeed, they're in shock. They don't believe it actually worked. You failed so many times that you're afraid of that success when it happens. When in fact, ultimately you should be embracing it. But you're always going to have that moment where you're in disbelief of your own accomplishment. You're in disbelief of what you're able to actually materialize. So yes, I've been there, as I'm sure as in all of our listeners who happen to be in some business have been there, of course. But we have to move past that. We have to recognize that we're there, appreciate how far we've gone, and keep moving.
So we've talked about fear. What about the idea of perfectionism? Is that something that can make it difficult? So like you succeed, but you're like, well, we still need to improve here. Can that be dangerous?
It can be dangerous. However, without that obsessive perfectionist, how far are you really going to get?
Mhm.
We always talk about on our show growth versus quality. And in my opinion, without a bit of obsessive perfectionism, when you grow, you're endangering the quality of your delivery. You're endangering the quality of your product, your service, whatever you're providing to the public, without making sure, because you're to an extent a perfectionist, that quality is maintained, no matter how big or small you are, especially if you're growing. And we have to take that into account first, that before I get any bigger, I need to make sure that my delivery, my finished product, my service remains at the same level that it has always been, that brought me to this growth in the first place. And all businesses have certain intervals where you reach a certain height or you reach a certain level in your business and you have to reevaluate. And in those are the moments where part of your reevaluation is, if we continue to expand or just maintain the level of growth we have now, what do we need to do to make sure that our quality remains just as good, if not better?
You've talked about the need to create content, be out there online. A lot of people avoid putting themselves out there online. Is that a confidence thing? A lot of times, are they not confident enough to put themselves out on that kind of a scale?
It could be personal preference. The public
Mhm.
domain is not for everyone.
True.
There are different types of professionals, concierge, for example, or family business style operations may not necessarily have a need for a public presence. So I think it really would depend on the type of operation you have. Where does your business come from? Where does your clientele come from? If you're heavily invested in the public domain, you're likely going to need some form of public presence, but it doesn't apply across the board. If I'm operating primarily on personal relationships, I need to make sure that my personal relationships, or rather my professional relationships, are healthy, that I'm making sure that they're live. And my focus would not necessarily be the public domain, but the people that are referring work to me and to whoever I'm working with. So it's an important detail, but it may be something that isn't necessarily a confidence issue. I'm sure in some cases, with the right push in the right direction, yes, I can understand that some people need a little bit of gusto, need a right bit of direction, a bit of training and coaching to understand how to maneuver in the public eye. But to others, it may be a matter of choice.
Hmm. I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, and there's a funny line in there where they're talking about a self-help book called Get Confident, Stupid, and I've always thought that was really funny. But it's not that simple. Like, you can't just become confident overnight. How would you mentor someone who lacks confidence?
It starts within. You really have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to accept who you are, and you have to love yourself above and beyond anything else. Projecting confidence is one thing. Showing real, genuine confidence is something totally different. People peacock a lot. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean they're a confident person, just means they like to show off. But real confidence is palpable. You walk into a room, you feel the difference. It's not about speech. Or rather, it's not only about what a person is saying. You can feel the energy in the room from someone who's truly confident in themselves, not someone who's arrogant or cocky, but real, genuine confidence. It doesn't have to be loud and rambunctious. It can be a presence felt in the room just by the person sitting there. And that comes from self love, and that comes from self awareness, comes from within, and understanding and believing in yourself above and beyond anything else. And in mentoring someone, that's where you start. You have to be comfortable with who you are, you have to be confident in who you are. And a lot of that starts with self love.
When something doesn't go the way you hoped, maybe they start to pile on a little bit throughout a week where you're just like, oh man, this things are start going my way this week for whatever reason. We've all had those. How do you keep moving forward without taking a dip in your confidence?
This, I'm sure, as to all of our listeners, we've all had a bad day, we've all had a bad week and a bad month. To me, this has always been step by step, brick by brick. The only thing you can do is do what's right in front of you. If you start focusing on all of these problems and issues and tasks I have to complete, you'll just spiral out of control.
Hmm.
The idea is just do what's in front of you. Take the phone call, answer the email, get into your flow. And you'll see that once you start knocking out task after task after task, it doesn't seem as scary as it was at first. So it sounds easier than done, but it really is just putting one foot in front of the other. Start small, start with a phone call, start with an email, and then move on to the larger tasks. and tackle it step by step, brick by brick.
That's really awesome advice, because I find myself that in that situation sometimes, and you see those emails that you need to answer, you have to call someone back, and you're almost putting it off because you've got these bigger things that are on your mind. But actually getting down to the nitty gritty with those things actually kind of resets you.
That's right. And look, it's those little things. It's answering the calls. It's answering your emails, and it puts you in a bit of a momentum where you
Mm-hmm.
can now move on to some of the larger tasks that don't seem as scary as they were at the onset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If someone is out there listening and they're thinking like, man, I know I need to make some changes. I need to get more confidence. I need to believe in myself more. Is there a simple change in their day to day that could help sort of as a jumping off point for it?
So this is something that it's a case by case. What works for you may not necessarily work for me. And the hurdles, the fears, the obstacles that are standing in your way may be different for me. And it really depends on what is it that we're afraid of. Are we afraid of success? Is there a trauma that we're tied to that is holding us back from growing as a person, elevating our frequency? Is there some habit in your life? Maybe you're a procrastinator that is just impeding your progress, impeding your success. Identifying it and taking accountability for it comes first. And from there, we're able to build our plan of action. So it starts with a message, it starts with a call. And from there, you can develop it according to what works best for you. So, to all of our listeners, if you're struggling, if you're having trouble with your confidence, if you're having trouble with growth, at me, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Love it. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Obsessed with Success. As Russell mentioned, visit morganlegalny.com for more tools, coaching, and insight from Russell. They're all over social media at morganlegalny. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. We greatly appreciate you being a part of our community. Russell, always great to chat with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Likewise, Kevin, great to be here. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.